Are you curious to know what it's like to date during COVID? Well, we have an expert analysis here to answer all of those dire questions. Welcome to the 504 Podcast. I'm your host, Mark,
And I'm your other host, Erica.
and we have a special guest today, Danielle Marie Dima. How are you?
Thank you for that wonderful introduction of my full government name, Baker.
Yes, if you want to steal her social, you're halfway there.
Baker, you need the sound machine. Where's that?
Oh, I didn't bring it up. I'm gonna bring it up on my phone right now. The unacceptable. So, Dima, how have you been since we've last spoken? I believe you were our third episode in, I believe, Dating and Diabetes, number 3 or number 4, our most watched episode.
I was on the most watched episode for sure. Yes. What a compliment.
She was sending it to everybody in other countries. They're like, I don't understand the language. Just watch it. Shut up.
They did their closed captions in their language.
Because she travels all around the world.
Yes. Most watched episode. That was great.
Here's my question: have you ever met anyone during your travels that you've met like from across the country that you kept in contact with?
No, not that I've kept. Actually, you know what? Maybe Instagram friends. You know, when you meet people like out and you're like, oh, you travel as much as me too. Let's be Instagram friends so we can, see each other's pictures, and maybe that'll persuade me to go to where you've traveled. So just Instagram friends, no like exchange of emails or phone numbers.
No potential dating.
Love? No. No.
I think as a guy, that's always like one of your fantasies. Like you're out in another country, you meet a nice girl, she's by herself, you're by yourself, and then you have like 2 days of just being in love before you just say goodbye forever. And then you can tell your grandkids, that's the one that got away.
No, and then you go back home and you're both in your, same, doing your own thing, and then you meet again on the streets because you realize you both live in the same city all your lives.
No,
that would
only
suck.
In movies. Only in movies.
That would suck if they lived in like the same area. It's like, hey, how you doing? And you're looking at her like this, I gotta go.
No, but what if it was something good and you didn't want to leave each other?
But then it kills the fantasy of never seeing them person again, and then you only exist in the person's memories.
I guess.
So Dima, here we go. First question about dating. You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's suppose you go on a nice date with a gentleman. Everything's great. Communication is good there. You're in the restaurant, everything's great, and then he hits you up a week later and says, hey, listen, I got some extra tickets to Bali. Why don't you come be my guest with me? Is that a cool second date?
Yeah, that's a great second date. Too bad it doesn't work out like that.
But what if it's like...
If he wants me to come to Bali with him, I don't know why he's waiting a week to text me, though.
But if it's like Bali, but it's like there was only one room left, and it's only the king bed.
But you're leaving out what's in between. Like, did they end at the first date and not talk, and a week later he texts her?
No, just like...
Or there's like conversation all
There's
week
conversation all week long type of deal.
Yeah, I mean, it depends if I was really into him. I mean, I don't want to go to Bali with somebody that, is not potential boyfriend or, somebody that's boring. I'm not just going to go to Bali. That's a long plane ride.
I don't know what Bali is. The first time I heard about Bali, those girls are getting kicked out.
On Instagram.
I was listening to the story of it, and it's like, they're like, yeah, come to Bali, and the girl's like writing a book on how to survive in Bali or something like that, and they're like, yo, you're not inviting people here during COVID. You gotta go. Your visa expired 3 days ago.
Bali has those huts in the water where you gotta take the boat to get to your little mini hut hotel, but they have the same huts in Aruba. So for, a lot less money and a lot less of a plane ride, you can do the same thing in Aruba.
Where did they film Forgetting Sarah Marshall? That's where I want to go.
That was Hawaii.
Oh.
That was Maui. I've been there too. It's beautiful.
Well, getting back to your question, I don't know if any sane person would want to go to Bali with somebody they just know a week, I'd be kind of like, well, yeah, am I going to come back home ever? Like, or you're going to like cut my head off and like leave me to die somewhere, or you're going to sell me to like some sex ring over there?
But that's part of the thrill.
No, that's not really.
I had a special and ID discovery after
Yeah.
I come back.
Yeah, you'll wind
for
up on
oxygen.
TV. And we'll be like, we knew her. We knew her.
It's
We
the
worked
thrill.
with her."
Wouldn't you like to be immortalized in like a channel ID mystery?
Or on ID Plus that nobody can ever watch anymore because you got to pay for it.
What's that?
Mhm.
ID Plus?
No, Discovery Plus. So now they're streaming all these not new shows, but shows, and they entice you by placing the ads on Discovery, and you can't watch them because you got to pay for this streaming service now.
I haven't had
Yeah.
cable in so long. I still can't figure out the difference between HBO Go and HBO Max.
And now HBO Max now, that's the one that you have to also pay an extra fee for to watch movies. I had 2 people tell me yesterday to watch something on it, so I'm at my parents' house, and when I'm here, I'm always using their cable or their on demand, and I go to HBO to look for it and it's not there. My brother's like, no, that's because we have to order HBO Max. And I'm like, what is the difference? Why can't it all just be on one? If we're all paying all this money to watch stuff on demand for HBO, it should all be counted as one.
Yep. Yes, exactly. But they want you to pay for all these services, and then they'll put certain shows on there.
All right, so here we go. Next dating question. First date. Gentleman invites you over to his house because he wants to cook for you. Is that a yay or a nay?
That's a nay. I'm not going to anybody's house on a first date.
Look at he's like, it's just quiet. He's like,
Listen, because you can tell I have no experience dating.
No, not on a first date. First date, you have to meet somewhere public and see how it goes.
And what is your rule?
Only 2 drinks, no dinner. Let's just see if there's a vibe there, if there's chemistry there. 2 drinks is like, 2.5 hours. Let's see how it goes. Plus, all these places now close at 10. So, you got to meet somebody kind of early now. And then you're out. And then if they're interested in you, they'll text you that night or the next morning. Or if I'm interested in them and I haven't heard from them, I'll reach out and we can plan for the next date. Somebody cooking for me, that's like a second or third type of date.
I wish that rule of the drinks and no food existed when I was dating back when I was still in my early 20s. I took a girl to the Joe Crab Shack. She got the Supreme bucket. And we ain't even go on a second date. She ate the sausage, the potatoes, everything out of there. I was like, jeez.
Well, you know what it is? It's like I don't want to sit and have a full meal with somebody if there's no connection, if there's no chemistry. I can't.
Weird.
Listen, you guys know how I've been doing this for like 2 years now, so I can't fake anything. And obviously, you guys know me. You're my coworkers for years. You can read my face when I'm interested or not. So I don't want to share a meal with somebody and have to be like, oh my God, we just got through appetizers, dinner's on the way, and I'm ready to be out of here.
Okay, so on the first date, your food comes back incorrect. Do you eat it or do you send it back? What type of vibe do you set so that the person knows whether or not she's complaining or whether she can kind of just roll with the punches?
I mean, as long as it's something that I'm not allergic to or I know that's not going to make me sick, I'm not picky.
Come on, man, give me some of the dating questions, the female dating questions. I don't know this stuff.
No, I like your questions better.
So do you allow a person to pick you up or do they have to like Uber?
No, I'll take an Uber. The past 2 guys that I went on a date with, they drove me home because I've kind of known them for a while, so I felt comfortable. So they dropped me off.
All right, so here's my question, and I already know the answer because we've talked about this, but...
Here she go, already knowing the answer. She's a lawyer.
We've talked about this, but, so when you're on these apps, what is your time frame? Like, do you want to get to the date immediately, or do you want to be like texting and chatting and then like maybe like what's your time frame?
So my time frame is really quick now because I just just ready to meet somebody because I've met so many guys that just want to be pen pals or that get too nervous or too scared and they just keep breaking plans, but yet keep hitting me up and texting me. And I'm like, listen, if you have no intention of meeting face to face and hanging out, I can't keep talking with you because this isn't going to go anywhere. Because a lot of people, I mean, it's been like that, but COVID made that worse than ever. And now with winter and even politics have gotten involved, people are just hiding behind their phone. They'd rather just have that consistency and companionship of like text messages or phone calls instead of actually meeting in person. So I've met some really cool guys that I was interested in, and then we've never met up. So it's like starting from scratch again, and it's like you just wasted like 2-3 weeks of my life communicating with you. And it's always in the beginning the same conversation, so you can literally copy and paste like from your notes after dating for so long. You know, the hey, what do you do for a living? What do you do for fun? What's your family like? Stuff like that.
Just submit a resume right away.
Yeah. So now if I meet a guy on Bumble or Hinge on a like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's like, what are you doing Friday or Saturday? Let's meet for a drink. So now I'm just like, let's meet, because if there's nothing there, bye.
So we need a male counterpart on our show, because we got to get the male perspective here. So when you say that, do you think that's a little? Do you think that guys find that to be a little pushy, or like when you're like, hey, let's meet up?
No, they're like, okay, cool. But I, you know, on the other side of it, I have a lot of them asking me when I'm available to meet too, because the guys that are serious about dating, they feel the exact same way as me. Like I had the last date that I went on, we had some really good conversations about dating, and his thing was, he's so sick, and like his friends are so sick of going on the apps and seeing how filtered the girls' pictures are. Like the Instagram filters, you know, they'll snapshot and then they'll put it on their dating profiles, or girls that take pictures from like the neck up, or if there's too many pictures of girls with their sunglasses on, and then when they meet them in person, the girls look nothing like they did on their profile.
That leads me to my question. So there was a report about online dating. They said 80% of people lie on their dating profile, whether it be their height, their weight, the amount of money they make, so forth and so on. What's a common thing that you've noticed that people may lie about when you meet them?
It's not so much lying.
Well, maybe not common, but what's something that somebody might leave out that you go, you should have put this on the profile?
If they have kids or they're divorced.
Does divorce matter?
It doesn't to me, but some people, like, that's like a conversation that you would have before you meet up. Like usually people ask like, oh, when was your last relationship? Why did it end? So I've been on a date before where a guy wouldn't stop talking about his ex-fiance. And I was like,
he's still into her. He's still into her.
And I didn't even know he was engaged. So he was bringing it up on the first date, and all he talked about was his ex-fiance. And
was he the one that was kind of short?
Yes. And then I've been on another date where this guy told me that he was in the process of getting divorced because his ex-wife was bipolar. So that was like something that also was left out in the conversation, which like, whatever, I don't judge anybody on stuff like that, but it's like, maybe your divorce should be finalized, or you should be over your fiance if you're on these apps looking for somebody. Because people like want to know that somebody that they potentially see something going, you know, further than one date, are serious about the dating game. Because then I've been out with guys that are like, that you never hear from them again, and they're still on Bumble, so they're only looking for like one thing only, which is physical, or they're just not ready to put in that time and work yet.
Here's my next question, and I guess this is one of those questions that have made memes very funny. The guy who still lives with his ex-wife or his baby mother, but they're not together, would that be like an ultimate immediately no for you?
Yes, that would be a definitely no. I don't want to deal with any of that.
Even if you meet her and she's like this, yeah, I don't want him.
Mm-hmm. No, then move back in with your parents. Move back in with your parents. Why do you have to live with her?
I think that's even, see, as a guy, if I say I live with my mom, I feel like that would be worse than if I'm like, I lived with my ex, but like I'm in the process of moving out and like it's over. And
You still live there. How do I know something's not going on?
Because she said it. She said it. She said it.
But I think like what Dima said, like that's a conversation you have when you start talking, not in the app, but like, you know, when you're starting to get to know each other. And that's when you start saying, well, there's something I want to tell you.
But see, I think it's such a stigma behind it that it's no real good way to bring that out. Like, I see what you're saying. Like, you could, you know, probably go live with a parent, but what if you're not from here and you put everything in the relationship and it's like, yo, I kind of can't afford to move right now, but I'm saving up and it's in the future. Like, we definitely, like, she's going on dates, I'm going on dates. I think we don't want to be together, but, you know, moving out, unless you have, like, you know, a little bit of bank, it's tough.
Yeah, I don't know. That's like a situation where I can say how I feel right now, but if I met somebody in that situation, I would have to really think about it depending upon how my feelings are towards them.
What if the reason for the breakup was significant? Like if he said, yo, she cheated, I can't be with her anymore, and you know, like it's done, would it still matter if they were still living together?
Yeah, I would feel more secure about that moving forward. But again, like I can only say how I feel right now because I've never been in a position like that. So I couldn't really speak to the truth about my feelings about a situation like that unless I was in it.
Can you imagine coming to pick him up? Your little girlfriend here. She can't come in and say hi to nobody.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
So here's my next question for you. Are there any jobs that a person would have that would make you go right away, ugh, you do that for a living?
No. Most of the guys that I go out on these dates with and that I meet on the apps all work in finance. And it's funny when I tell my brother and cousin Joey about
Cousin Joey!
And they're like, well, you keep going out with them and you keep saying you don't understand anything that they're saying, but can you at least get us some trading tips or some advice on stocks and bonds?
Now, wait, so when you go out with these guys, do you tell them that, you know, I don't really get what you're saying. I don't understand what you do?
Yes, I say all the time, I'm like, listen, your occupation is the guy that I have the most dates with, and every time you guys tell me what you do on a daily basis, I can't comprehend it. And they start laughing and they'll agree and they're like, yeah, it's really boring. Tell me about your work stories. And I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. So whenever I'm on a date, they love to hear about our school work stories, about what we go through at work, you know. They love those stories. They're very enjoyable.
Yeah, right. Until they have to experience it. It's always funny when the nonsense happens to somebody else. Then when it happens to you, you go, this can't be life. This isn't real.
I'm going back to finance.
This isn't real. This happened. The mom did what in front of you? Ah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't imagine being on a date with somebody in finance and be like, wow, that's great. That's amazing. Like, that just seems...
What is finance? They're like, I just work with money? Is that what it is?
It's a broad topic.
I spend other people's money for a living.
Financial advisors, so they advise people on their finances, on stocks and bonds and the market. Just, yeah.
It's like that show. What was that show on Showtime with the black guy from Marvel? I can't think of the name of it. It's the girl. She was like Ally McBeal or something. She's not Ally McBeal. I'm confusing the women.
Talking about Veep.
What is it?
Yeah, Veep.
No, not Veep. What they were financial consultants, and they literally just lied to the customers every episode.
Oh no! Oh, I'd like to see that one.
It's on Showtime. It's the black guy from Iron Man.
I know what you're talking about. You know,
I'm gonna look it up right now.
It's not Billions, is it?
No, it's not Billions. I tried to get into Billions. I just couldn't get into it. No, you're telling me stuff on HBO. I'm talking about something that's on Showtime.
Oh.
It was on Showtime, and you know what? I'm just gonna look it up. Black guy. This is how I look stuff up, so Google doesn't give me the wrong answer. Black guy from Iron Man, and then it leads me to my next point. Okay, his name is it's not Terrence Howard.
It's Don something.
Don Cheadle, yes. Yep. Don Cheadle. Somebody's probably screaming the show right now as they watch the episode. That show is named this. John Cheadle. Cheadle is such a weird last name. Do you remember the first? What's the first movie you ever saw Don Cheadle in?
I
I
don't
don't
know.
even know.
You know what my first time seeing Don Cheadle in? Boogie
What?
Nights, and I wasn't supposed to be watching it.
Yes.
Oh, that was a good
With my
movie.
man Mark Wahlberg.
Yes. Marky Mark.
Yes, and his Calvin Kleins.
Mm.
All right, here we go. I'm almost there. It's not. They're giving me Black Monday. It's not Black Monday. What is the name
Black
of it?
Friday.
Oh.
No, it's not Black Friday.
Is that the Oh, I started watching something.
No, it's
like
not
that.
Black Monday. It's the white girl who's in there, and she's on that show when she goes to heaven.
So why can't you just go on IMDb, type in his name, and it'll come up?
You know, you and Miss IMDb. I'm gonna look it up right now. Don Cheadle
white girl.
I love
IMDb.
that app.
Here we go.
And when she goes to
Filmography.
heaven, he does what? But that other show, is it Black Monday about the stock market crash? Is that Black Monday?
No idea.
I started watching something about the stock market crash in like the 80s or something. That was good.
House of Lies is what it's called. House of Lies.
Oh, no, I never watched it.
House of Lies.
I think it's on Netflix now too.
And he was a financial consultant, and he would tell these companies how they should be spending their money, and they would pay him so that he can tell them how they should spend their money. And he's like, oh, it's just, we don't do anything here. And he would lie to them. And it was all about just making more money. And he had a whole consulting firm around him.
That I've never heard of. Yeah.
Come on, check it out. It's not a bad show. I used to watch it after Shameless. But it's over now. The last season they were talking about going to Cuba to open up some hotels there because it was like new on the market, and they were trying to get into the Cuba game before other people did.
I just want to be like that. Like just one day, yeah, I got money. I'm gonna go and travel and build expensive homes, and it must be nice.
When I deliver to some of these nice expensive homes, I get angry on the inside. I'm like this.
Yeah.
I never learned this in 9th grade. What do you do for a living?
Oh.
Have you ever dated anyone with a very unique job that's not finance? Like, or on these dates, like when you go on these dates, like someone's come up with a job and you're like this, wow, I've never heard of that job before.
Not like that. I dated somebody right before, and then into when COVID first hit last year. He was an anti-terrorism agent.
Oh.
So that was cool. Yeah.
I'm sure he had some stories.
He definitely had some stories. I don't know if I could repeat them on this podcast, though.
Probably not.
Make sure you send all of these nice gentlemen the podcast so they can go, man, I could have had something here.
Uh-huh.
The podcast will be flagged.
Mhm.
FBI will be knocking on our door, taking us out in the snow.
So, dating, cell phone usage, how does that work with like
Yeah, that's
now
a good
with like
question.
people having cell phones and people are attached to them on the hip and looking at them? What's your number of times they look at their phone before you become uninterested?
Honestly, I've had really good outcomes with that. I've never been on a date where somebody looked at their phone while we were having a conversation. Maybe when I walked away to use the bathroom, but not while we were sitting across from each other and having a drink or a meal.
You ever go to the bathroom and leave your purse there?
No. I wouldn't
Just
even do that if I
curious.
was out with you guys.
Just curious. Because I know like some guys are like, oh, she might be trying to set me up. Let me go check her phone real quick to make sure that the jump out boy is not going to be waiting for me later.
Yeah.
Because women, man, they'll sex you up to be robbed.
Oh my no.
What do you mean, no? That's how a lot of men
No.
get robbed.
That's how.
She's like,
I've never had that happen or let that happen. So.
come on, let's go back to the hotel. Let's around the corner. And the guy's like, oh, yeah? And then he gets in there, and then it's like that movie. He's like, get down on the floor right now. Give me your wallet. What is the name of that movie where they both get robbed, and he's thinking that she's getting robbed with him, and then he finds out later that it was only him getting robbed, and she was in on it?
I think you need to download the IMDb app.
Well, that's
think-
like the movie Hustlers with J-Lo. They would roofie the men and then steal his cards, and that's how they bought all their stuff.
And that's how Cardi B was getting all of her stuff back in the day, allegedly.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, "What are you talking about? We go ahead and we roofied them and we robbed them," you know, in her voice. And then when it came out, she got nice and quiet. I'm like, she's not gonna get canceled? No, that's just for men. Got it.
Yep, she's not gonna get canceled. That's gone.
Yeah.
It's only for men.
I don't even know if she's making music anymore. Did you ever watch her TV show with Cardi Tries?
No.
I just used to watch her, you know, back in the day on Love and Hip Hop. I prefer that Cardi over the one that's out now.
Any music interest that a gentleman has put you onto on a ride back home and you've said, "Ooh, that's nice"?
No, but Erica will get... she'll understand this one. So the last date I went on, the bar that we went to had like a really good channel on. It was, you know, old classic rock, so it was like a lot of Tom Petty, Rolling Stones, Fleetwood Mac. So every time a Fleetwood Mac song came on, I'd be like, oh, it's another good one, another classic. And I said, like, oh, I've loved Fleetwood Mac before the guy on the skateboard drinking the cranberry juice was, you know, heading down the highway. And he looked at me and he goes, you don't look like you're a Fleetwood Mac fan. I was like, whoa, that's kind of disrespectful. You're just judging me on how I look against my music taste.
Well, the first time I ever heard of Fleetwood Mac, I was watching a Marvel movie.
And
I thought it was cool, but
what was the song?
And you gonna love me now, and you will never love me again.
Was that Deadpool?
No, it wasn't Deadpool. It's Guardians of the Galaxy Part 2.
Oh, that's right. That was in there. Yes.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, who's this group? And they got the little do. I'm like, hey.
They're an awesome group. They're an awesome band.
Yes.
All right, hashtag Fleetwood Mac. Maybe he'll want to come on our podcast.
Yes, I got very disrespected on a date because I was such a huge fan of you.
I promise you, Fleetwood Mac is not listening to this podcast. Let's not talk to them.
Stevie Nicks is definitely not listening to us.
So, how many members are in Fleetwood Mac? Just randomly, because I saw a picture. It's like 4 people in the picture. Is it 4 people?
4. I think it's 4. Yeah.
Mm.
It's 2 men and 2 women, right?
Yes.
Got it. All right. And before we wrap this up, we've discussed before on our podcast about these little bubbles that people are eating in. Have any of your dates taken you into the little bubbles?
No, because you want to know why? Because in the state of New Jersey, we can still go to bars inside and eat dinner inside, unlike New York City. So there's really no reason to. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to doing that because they all look cool and they got the heaters in them and everything, but I've just been lucky that they haven't shut down indoor dining and bars in Jersey.
Well, apparently, now that Bernie Sanders is elected and he's our next president, California is discussing the possibility of opening up their restaurants.
Oh, of course.
So they said there was no data between the amount of COVID cases going up that coincided with restaurants being open, so they're going to consider opening them up.
I was in a restaurant Saturday night in downtown Jersey City, and didn't seem like there was too much social distancing going on there.
Mm-hmm.
They were a little crowded.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
When do you think this will ever go back to normal? When you can be next to somebody and not go, oh, you're too close, or if somebody like goes and you go, ah.
I'm gonna say next spring.
Yeah, I want to say like a year or 2. But here's the thing, like, I don't know, you know, how people feel about traveling. You guys obviously know I traveled a lot during this, especially during the summer. Very false advertising is going on with airports and airlines. I mean, there was no middle seats open on any flight that I went to. So, you know, they must not be too concerned about stuff like that. And it's not like they take your temperature before you get on a flight. Over the summer, I did Vermont, I did Colorado, I did Montana, I did Outer Banks, and then in November I went to Aruba. Aruba was the only one that I had to prove that I tested negative for COVID to actually get into Aruba, but you stay in the United States to go anywhere. You don't need anything like that.
I'm telling you, there is a tale of two cities in the world, because they're saying this is like a world virus and it's catastrophic and stuff. And I see people out in other countries, no one's wearing a mask. They're all dancing. They're in little nightclubs. The bartender's coming over and they're reaching over to yell what they want to the bartender because the music's so loud. And I'm like, what? Okay, sure, whatever. So it's really like there's a part of the world that's living in fear, and then there's another part of the world that's just living. And then you don't know who's right and who's wrong.
And then even if you want to look up the statistics, do you believe what you're reading?
Mm-hmm.
You know, who's telling the truth anymore? We don't know.
It's the same thing with the vaccines, too. Why are there 5 different vaccines now? Why are people getting COVID symptoms after their first and second vaccine, like literally hours later? I don't know.
Well, that representative from Texas, he got the vaccine December 16th, his first one. I don't know what, I guess he was due for a second one. He wound up getting COVID.
Yeah.
That would suck. Imagine getting the vaccine, half the vaccine, and then getting COVID in between.
Because you're not, it doesn't guarantee you to not get COVID.
I know that, but I mean, that's what a lot of people are under the assumption of.
Yes. They are.
But, and I feel like the pharmaceutical companies, they're not really pushing that narrative as much. Like, you know, they'll say, oh, it's 95% effective, but they're not saying like, hey, you know, you can still get COVID. Your symptoms are just going to be less. I feel like people hear, I'm going to get the vaccine and I'm not going to get it. No, you could still get it. Mm-hmm. That's why you still need, like, most people are like, I'm free of COVID. No, you're not.
And then there's the whole debacle of whether or not you can get it twice. But that's for another episode. Thank you, Danielle Marie Dima. Her social security number, last 4 digits is 1375. 1375. Thank you so much for coming on the show and divulging your personal life with dating, because the snowblower outside is letting me know it's time to go.
It is. I gotta go shovel out. If I'm staying here, I gotta put in that work here.
All right. Erica, last words?
No, just go shovel that snow and don't have a heart attack doing it.
So, yeah. All right. Until next time, everyone, thank you so much for tuning into the 504 podcast, COVID and Courtship. And I'll see you guys later.
All right. Bye.
Bye.